the online video resources for head and neck by numbers. My name is Felicia Sigurd, and I am a dental hygienist and the author of Head and Neck by Numbers. I will also be your guide through the names, locations, and relationships outlined in the text. So let's start with how we use the text. It is very important that you do not write the names on the pictures. The whole point is that you're going to write the number that associates with the other page. So then you can flip it around with that coil binding and just look at the image and quiz yourself. So we'll go through, if you're looking at figure 1, the way it would work is I would say number 1 is superior, and on the screen will flash the image of what you need to color. Now, these videos were made to be short, so I'm not going to just stand here while you color, so feel free to pause me, color, and then start again. Now, we have to get something straight. I am not giving you the grade for this class. So if you find that there's a discrepancy between my book and what your teacher tells you, go with your teacher, okay? But other than that, I think that your teacher and I are both helping you to be a better student and learn anatomy in fun and interesting and hopefully helpful ways. Figure 6 is the floor of the cranium. Number 1 starts us off with the frontal bone. Number 2 are the frontal sinuses. There are sinuses throughout the skull. There are air spaces in the bone that help to keep the skull light so we can hold our heads up high. Number 3 is the crista galli of the ethmoid bone. It is a small bony process that is fragile and extends up from the ethmoid bone. So I just tell myself, crista is so fragile. Number 4 is the sphenoid bone, a single bone of the skull. Number 5 is the lesser wing of the sphenoid bone. When you look at this picture, it's a little deceptive, but you have to think that the lesser wing is the anterior portion, while the greater wing, number 6, is the posterior and larger portion. This is when you really want to look at a skull and it will make a lot more sense. Number 7 is the anterior clinoid process. It sits on the anterior side of number 8, which is the sella turcica. It actually means Turkish saddle because somebody thought it looked like a saddle on the floor of the cranium. Now in that little space sits the pituitary gland. Number 9 is the posterior clinoid process that sits on the posterior side of your sella turcica. Number 10 is the temporal bone. This is a paired bone on the skull. Number 11 is the parietal bone, also a paired bone of the skull. Number 12 is the occipital bone, a single bone of the skull. Number 13 is the cribriform plate, and that's how you'll say it, cribriform plate, so that you can spell it correctly. It is a plate that has holes in it so that the olfactory nerve can sit on it and little nerve fibers will sit down in your nasal cavity, and that's how you smell, with cranial nerve number 1, the olfactory nerve. Number 14 is the optic canal. As we've talked about before, it has cranial nerve number 2, the optic nerve, and the ophthalmic artery. Number 15 is the superior orbital fissure. It has the ophthalmic nerve and cranial nerves 3, 4, the first branch of number 5, and 6. Number 16 is foramen rotundum. This one is very round and rotund. It holds the second branch of the trigeminal nerve. Number 17 is the foramen ovale. This holds the third branch of the trigeminal nerve. So if you've paid attention, we've had the superior orbital fissure that had the first branch of the trigeminal nerve, the foramen rotundum that had the second branch of the trigeminal nerve, and the foramen ovale that has the third branch of the trigeminal nerve. A good way to remember that is we've got superior orbital fissure, rotundum, and ovale means standing room only. Number 18 is foramen spinosum, and the middle meningeal artery passes through it. Number 19 is the foramen lacerum. You remember this one, it lassos your head and holds you on with cartilage. Number 20 is the internal acoustic meatus, and it has cranial nerve number 7, the facial nerve, and cranial nerve number 8, the vestibulocochlear nerve. Number 21 is the jugular foramen. It has the internal jugular vein and cranial nerve 9, 10, and 11, but remember it's only the cranial root of number 11. Number 22 is the hypoglossal canal, which holds the hypoglossal nerve or cranial nerve number 12. Number 23 is foramen magnum, again the one that holds your spinal cord and the spinal root of cranial nerve number 11.